Hello friends, welcome to another edition of our continued coverage at MEF 19, and now I am standing at Telco Systems and I am with Ariel Efrati. So now we are going to focus on how Telco Systems is bringing innovation to the market, and what innovation are they showcasing here at this event. So Ariel, tell us something about the key priorities that you have today in the market.
Yeah, so we have two key areas that we are dealing with, Zia. One of them is the NAV space, and what we're offering is NAVi OS, which is called NAV Time. And NAV Time is an operating system and also an ecosystem that creates the ability to virtualize on white boxes. Okay, being with ARM or with Intel. And this is one aspect of things, and I will speak more elaboratively in a second when we'll introduce more information about that. The other thing that we introduced here in the show today is actually on the other side of the carrier Ethernet stuff. And the carrier Ethernet space, we have a new 100 gig device called 8104, which is a very dense device with 88 ports of 10 gig and 4 ports of 100 gig. And this is a quite groundbreaking because it's a very dense one. It's a 2U device, and it's also in a great price point, which is breaking the market, to be honest. And there's a lot of adoption by that, also for 5G, but also for general aggregation purposes.
So here, what is the big innovation that you are focusing on at MEF 19?
So we're focusing on mainly about the innovation that we introduced to the market a few years back, but in this year we actually introduced some key elements that are quite differentiated in the NAV space. Okay, NAV space is becoming a very widely adopted now, and I would assume that in 2020, which is just a few months from now, everybody is going to have a deployment already of NAV. So that is a very key element, and what I call the continuous line in the telecommunication space, because this is moving from real hardware embedded systems to now to a compute system with a computing edge, which I think that is quite interesting. What we are offering and what we're introducing to the market is key elements in the operating system of NAV, which I can guarantee you that no one else offers in the market, and this is from our very deep understanding of what it takes to go and to have a real deployment, and also to have a very efficient environment, because if it's not efficient enough and it's not open enough and versatile enough, you actually, when you start to do the deployment, you get stuck. So I created some props that I would like to share with you regarding the NAV Time. So NAV Time, here you can see some differentiators that are quite unique for telco systems, right? So most of the market will tell you about virtualization and NAV in the Intel domain. Intel is a great chipset, which is, I think, is very key. But why just concentrated on Intel? If you want to really be open and harness all the benefits of the compute environment, ARM has a lot to offer to that market. ARM's price point is usually half the price, right? With much more cores. It has a lot of accelerators that are being made by the fact that ARM is not the only producer of the chipsets. You have companies like NXP, and you have companies like Qualcomm and Marvell and so on, and each one of them want to compete with each other, so they add more accelerators within their chipsets, which means that there are a lot of applications that are very relevant for the UCP space, or for actually not just the UCP, because our vision is about doing virtualization both for the UCP space, but also to the MEC, the multi-edge compute environment, and at the end of the day as well for IoT. So small footprint, very efficient solutions are very important. So by doing the same operating system that can run both on ARM environment and an Intel environment, you can enjoy all possible worlds, right? Which is very key.
Right.
Now we are the only vendor that can offer NAVi based on ARM. We have a strategic partnership with ARM. ARM invested in the platform as well to make it happen, because ARM is very serious in getting into this market. Okay, so that's one thing. The other element that I want to introduce is most operating systems are very fat. NAV Time, which is NAV Time, is very lean. Their footprint, our footprint is very efficient, which means that it does not consume a lot of resources, right? It enables you to get more juice out of your white box, right? Which is very, very important.
Right.
It means that we don't consume a full core. We consume half of a core, which means it leaves you more capabilities in other places. This combines with DPDK. You're familiar with DPDK, everybody is familiar with DPDK, but we coined a term called light DPDK. This is why we have the feather here. So light DPDK is something that you can tailor and scale down the capabilities of DPDK if you don't have to have a line rate. Let's say you don't need a 1 gig, you just need 100 meg, then you can scale it down and then it will not consume a full core. It can reside together with our operating system, and then the operating system together with DPDK will consume only 1 core, where naturally speaking in other places it will consume usually a core and another core, which is a great waste of efforts. The last point in this slide is basically to bring your own device. Everybody says we can work on whatever device, but then it demands a lot of certification and a lot of integration and testing and so on. Our system is adaptive. It means that even if we never saw the device, physical device itself, from a vendor that we never met, assuming that it uses ARM or Intel architecture, which is probably the older market, I can assure that in 99% of the cases, our operating system will run and will be operational in minutes. We have the capability to go and learn all the environment of the physical environment and the device environment and to build a tailored operating system on the fly, which is quite unique, and this enables you all the flexibility. With those these 4 elements that you see on this slide are quite unique. You will see neither of the other operating system. So that is one point. This is the first slide. The other innovation that we're introducing, I will start from the bottom. We just now today announced, and this is one of our announcements, is our new UCPE UI. Our UCPE Manager UI. This is something we learned from experience in deployments, that if you don't have a very natural UI, a very efficient one, things are getting complex. So we are making it much more simpler. And you can see it's all depiction of pictures. You see the devices, you drag and drop everything. It's a wizard mode. You see that there's a progress.
User interface quite interesting.
User interface is very key when you manage so much complexity. Because this is, remember, it's a new field for the operators. If you don't introduce that, that will be a challenge. Last but not least is everybody is talking about containers nowadays. Most of the markets are working in VM mode, in virtual machines. All the VNFs that you're familiar with, from Fortinet to VeloCloud to Cisco to you name it, are mostly VM related, which makes sense. And if people asking me when VM will migrate, the VNFs will migrate to container, to be honest, not anytime soon. And this is key to understand. So people, when they speak about that, I don't believe that those vendors will go and invest so much time and effort to move it to containers, because VM is working well for them. But then there's a lot of different functions, especially functions that are being written by the operators or by enterprises that they want to put on the same device where the VM runs and the VNFs runs. They have no capability because they developed that in a very efficient way, which is a container mode. We're introducing the only operating system that can run both VM and containers on the same operating system. This is very, very key. It's key for a lot of, this is what we call the hybrid mode of container together with VMs. And this is quite unique. This is a groundbreaking innovation that doesn't exist. Not in that space, not in any kind of virtualization space. And this is a lot of technology went into play into making this happen. And I think that altogether, these 6 different key unique value propositions that we have in NAV Time is something that the market cannot overlook. And if someone is looking for virtualizing and having an NAVI operating system, I would definitely recommend to look at NAV Time coming from Telco Systems.
Perfect. Great.
That's good.
So besides this, what more can we expect in the coming quarter or coming year from Telco Systems? What are some of the innovations that you are working on?
So I think that what I mentioned quite recent, the fact that we're going, the NAV time is going to be a combination of having both VMs, VNFs, which are virtual machine, together with containers, is a great innovation. This is some of the things that we are going to integrate more and more. We are going to introduce more and more VNFs type of companies to work on ARM, which is quite, I would say, nascent ecosystem, as opposed to Intel that has a lot of VNFs. So this is becoming, we're going to release more and more. We do a lot of benchmarks. We just today, actually a month ago, we did a benchmark together with Intel. And this is being publicized by Intel in their website, showing that we can reach to a 40 gig performance with Fortinet, firewall, and SD-WAN on a white box. Line rate. This is line rate. Remember, so 40 gigs they have, and we reach to 47 gig of throughput with that environment. The same goes for 10 gig as well. So I think, and no one can see that when we introduced that to Intel were quite surprised that how far we reach with our efficient operating system to run on this. And we intend to introduce more those benchmarks, and that's what I believe separates between the chaos that exists outside and people claiming a lot of claims versus what we can actually prove and demonstrate. And this is our intention to keep on doing that.
Great, that's it, Ariel. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to more such meetings in the near future.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you for coming.